I remember the sound, the way it bounced off the walls, the way it stuck to my skin like ash. You laughed at it because it was funny, but because you thought I was. You laughed when I spoke the truth. You laughed when I said the cracks were forming. You laughed when I warned you the storm was coming. And God, how loud you laughed. It wasn't just mockery. It was dismissal. It was arrogance dressed as amusement. It was fear pretending to be confidence. You wore your ignorance like a crown, polished it with pride, bathed in the illusion of control. You didn't hear me. You didn't want to, because hearing me meant admitting you were wrong, and you'd rather choke on your pride than swallow a sliver of truth. So you laughed. You made jokes. You turned prophecy into parody, and wisdom into a punchline. I was the madman, the fool in the shadows, the broken voice echoing in empty halls. But I kept speaking, even as your laughter stabbed through every word, even as your eyes rolled and your smirk sharpened. Because deep down, I knew something you refused to understand. Laughter fades, warnings don't. You see, the problem with mocking the fire is that it remembers. Every spark you ignored, every ember you stomped out, every flicker you mocked, it remembered. And now those sparks have teeth. Now the flame has a name. Now the laughter has stopped, and all that's left is smoke. I tried. Don't you dare say I didn't. I tried to be your shield. I tried to be your wake-up call. I screamed while you slept, but you called it noise. And now you're awake, but the world is burning. Tell me, is it still funny? Is the silence comfortable now? Does the weight of your own ignorance keep you warm at night? You laughed because you thought you had time. You laughed because you thought nothing could touch you. You laughed because fear only makes cowards laugh louder. But I wasn't the joke. You were. And this is your punchline. Because I didn't come here to be liked. I didn't speak for applause. I didn't warn you to save myself. I warned you to save you. And you laughed. Now feel it. Every broken wall, every scream in the dark, every truth you buried now clawing its way to the surface. Let it echo now. Let the silence scream louder than my words ever could. Because the laugh echoed too long. And now it's my turn to speak. They laughed. God, how they laughed. Like this was all some kind of joke. Like warnings were just noise. Like truth was just another thing they could scroll past, mock, ignore. They smirked while the match was lit, danced while the fuse hissed, cheered while the smoke crept in. They thought the fire was just for show, a flicker in the distance, a story someone else would tell, not something that could touch them. They pointed fingers, called it drama, called it fear-mongering, called it madness, but it was a mirror, and they smashed it. Because it showed too much. Because it exposed what they didn't want to see. The cracks, the rot, the truth they'd buried beneath comfort and noise. They played pretend while the walls crumbled. They thought if they laughed hard enough, the storm would wait. That if they mocked loud enough, reality would forget their name. That if they called me crazy, the consequences wouldn't find them. But storms don't listen to laughter. And fire doesn't care about your pride. Now it's here, and it's hungry. Their screens are filled with chaos now, but this time, they're not laughing. They're praying, they're screaming, they're running. Suddenly, every joke turned into a question. Every sneer turned into silence. Every that could never happen is now. How did we not see this coming? Because I told them. I screamed it until my throat bled. I warned them until my words became ash. I stood alone while they mocked from the comfort of numbers. But warnings sound like noise when your ears are full of ego. They treated my truth like a stage play. They watched from their velvet seats, popcorn in hand, not realizing they were sitting in the blast zone. Now the fire isn't on the news, it's on their doorstep. And the game is over. This is not a simulation. This is not a rehearsal. This is the fallout. And every smirk, every laugh, every smug dismissal, it all has a cost. And now they're paying it. with every shiver, with every broken promise, with every collapsing pillar they once leaned on like it was immortal. The empire they built on ignorance is ash. And me, I'm still standing, because I was never playing. I knew the rules, I knew the cost. I bled early so I wouldn't burn later. They danced in the smoke. I prepared in the shadows. They joked. I endured. And now, while they fall to their knees in confusion and regret, I walk through the flames like I belong in them. Because I do. Because I saw this coming. Because I became what they refused to believe. And now that everything's on fire, suddenly, I'm not so crazy, am I? Let them choke on the smoke. Let them claw at the sky. Let them beg for answers they once laughed at. It's too late for tears. Too late for apologies. Too late for pretending they didn't know. Because they did know. They just chose to laugh. And now it burns. And I don't flinch. You silenced me. Not with chains. Not with cages. But with your laughter. With your doubt. With your eyes that looked through me like I wasn't even there. You didn't kill me. You erased me. And in that emptiness, I learned to breathe fire. You see, silence isn't peace. It's a coffin for the living. You buried me beneath your pride, your noise, your comfort, and left me to rot in the quiet. But something happened in that grave you dug for me. I listened to the lies behind your smiles, to the poison laced in your praise, to the truth you tried so hard to bury. And then I stopped listening. I stopped caring, stopped waiting, stopped begging for a seat at your table. You closed the door. So I tore down the entire house inside me and rebuilt something you can't understand. You called it silence, but I was studying. I was sculpting. I was sharpening every part of me you tried to dull. You thought the quiet would kill me. It fed me. Every moment alone was a lesson. Every shadow became my ally. Every echo reminded me who I was. And when no one believed in me, I started believing in the one thing that never left the voice inside me. The rage, the fire, the unkillable whisper that said, "They're wrong about you." You see, monsters aren't born. They're made, crafted in silence, forged in rejection, baptized in abandonment. You made me this. Every time you looked away, every time you laughed behind my back, every time you told me to just move on, you handed me a blade. And now I wear your betrayal as armor. So don't ask me why I'm not the same. Don't beg for the version of me you left behind. That version died in the silence. What stands before you now is the echo of everything you tried to silence. It's loud, it's alive, and it doesn't need your permission anymore. You forced me into the dark, but I made the dark mine. I learned to walk without light, to breathe without comfort, to smile without trust. And now when I speak, the world listens, not because I shout, but because they fear what I became in the quiet. This silence, it didn't break me. It built me. So go ahead, whisper your doubts, mock what you don't understand. But know this, you taught me that silence is survival. And now I am the storm born from your stillness. I am the scream buried in every quiet room. I am the voice you thought would never rise again. And I've got a lot to say. You watched me break, and you clapped. You watched me stumble, and you smiled. You saw the blood, the bruises, the silence, and you thought that meant I was finished. You thought pain made me weaker. You thought quiet meant surrender. You thought stillness was the same as defeat. But you never stopped to ask what I was doing in the silence, where I went when I disappeared, what I became when no one was watching. You never saw the hours. You never saw the nights. You never saw the war I fought behind closed doors and the monster I trained in the mirror. You assumed I stayed broken because that's easier to believe, isn't it? It's easier to mock the fall than to fear the rise. It's easier to pretend you won than to ask what happens when I get back up. But I did. I got up. Every single time. With sharper bones. with colder eyes, with fire in my chest and iron in my jaw. While you laughed, I learned. While you bragged, I built. While you slept, I sharpened the very thing you'll choke on. You thought I was gone? I was gathering. You thought I was finished? I was becoming. You thought I was broken? No, I was forging. Now your laughter's gone. Now your pride has blisters. Now you see me and finally feel it. The tremble in your breath, the tightness in your chest, that is fear, and it's well earned. Because I didn't come back to explain. I didn't return for apologies. I came back to collect. Every single doubt turned into fire. Every single scar turned into armor. You never saw it coming because you never believed I could. But I knew, oh, I always knew. While you underestimated, I recalibrated. While you counted me out, I was counting the seconds. And now, time's up. Let this be the last thing you learn. The quiet ones don't stay quiet forever. The broken don't stay broken. And the ones you left for dead, we don't come back the same. We come back ruthless. We come back evolved. We come back unstoppable. You thought the silence meant surrender. You mistook my stillness for defeat. But silence is where revolutions begin. You saw me watching, but you never saw what I was watching for. Every crack in your system, every lie you whispered to the blind, every mask you wore until it rotted into your skin. I said it would fall. I said the ground was hollow. I said the sky would turn on you. But you laughed like gods on borrowed thrones. You laughed like fire couldn't reach marble, like consequence was just a myth told to children. And now, you choke on the dust of your own delusion. You called it rebellion. You called it vengeance. But this was prophecy. I didn't start the collapse. I was merely the echo, the whisper beneath your foundation, the reflection in the mirror you refused to face. You thought I'd come swinging. You thought I'd bring noise and rage. But I didn't need to scream. The silence did the work for me. Because when you build on greed, when you build on denial, when you build atop the bones of those you silenced, it all comes down eventually. I didn't pull the trigger. I just pointed at the truth, and it pulled itself. You handed me the match, then danced in gasoline. And when the flames kissed your arrogance, you looked at me like I lit it. No, you lit it. You nurtured it. You fed it. I just watched the spark become your sermon. And now the empire bleeds. Now the towers tremble. Now the kings claw at the dust for answers they once spat on. You want someone to blame. Look closer. The mirror never lied. The collapse wasn't my rage. It wasn't my revenge. It was your return to reality. The fall was your reply to my silence. And now you hear it. Now you feel it. Too late. Too loud. Too final. So don't ask why I didn't stop it. Don't ask why I stood still. Because I did warn you. And the collapse, that was the reply. The only one you ever truly deserved. You finally see it now, don't you? The cracks in your fortress. The rot in your thrones. The fire rising behind your polite little smiles. You feel it now. The weight I carried. The silence I swallowed. The storm I screamed about while you laughed. You thought the warnings were madness. You thought my fury was delusion. You thought your world was too big to fall. And now you finally understand. Now you see what I saw. Now you fear what I felt. Now you beg for answers in a language I spoke long ago. But it's too late. I handed you truth. You spat in my face. I gave you time. You gave me mockery. You let comfort blind you. Let arrogance silence you. Let pride be your compass. And now you're lost in a maze of ash. I screamed so loud the stars shook. I bled so much the earth turned red. I warned you with everything I had left, and still, you laughed. Do you feel strong now? Now that the walls are gone? Now that the lies have melted into smoke? Now that my voice, the one you ignored, is the only one left echoing? You used to smirk when I spoke. Now you flinch. You used to talk over me. Now you whisper. You used to walk past me. Now you follow too late to catch up. You were never the shield, never the savior, never the wise one you pretended to be. You were noise, distraction, delay. And now the price is here, on your doorstep, with my name carved in every stone that falls. You want to listen now. You want to believe now. You want to gather the pieces of a world you helped shatter. Good. Try. Pick them up, with your trembling hands, with your tear-filled eyes, with the regret clawing at your throat. Try. But just know this: I'm not here to rebuild with you. I'm not here to hold your hand through the fire. I was the bridge. I was the siren. I was the last light before the blackout. You walked past me, and now you walk alone. Too late to learn. Too late to change. Too late to save what's already turning to dust. You finally understand. Good. Now watch what comes next. You thought I was done. You thought the silence meant surrender. You saw the grave and assumed I'd stay buried. But you forgot. Ashes are not the end. Ashes are where the fire begins again. I didn't crawl out. I clawed my way back. With blood in my mouth and rage in my breath. You buried me beneath your doubts. Shoveled shame over my name. Spat prayers that I'd stay broken. But prayers don't work on demons you created. I was never your martyr. I was never your toy. I was the storm waiting in your shadow. Watching. Waiting. Growing teeth in the dark. Every lie you spoke over me, I swallowed it and turned it into venom. Now it drips from every word I spit. You thought the fire consumed me. You were wrong. I became the fire, and now I burn without permission. Let them whisper. Let them run. Let them beg for the version of me that still gave a damn. That version is gone. You see these scars? They're not wounds. They're warnings. Every mark is a prophecy you ignored. You wanted me quiet. You wanted me small. You wanted me safe. But I wanted war. I wanted truth. And I wanted me back. So I shattered your rules, tore the script, and rewrote my name in steel. Now I walk like thunder. Now I speak in echoes. Now I breathe smoke and speak fire. You should have killed me when I was kind. You should have feared me when I was healing. Because now I don't flinch. I don't fold. I don't forget. I rise from the ashes you buried me in, and I bring the storm with me. Let them hide. Let them pray. Let them remember. I was the one they mocked, the one they doubted, the one they left behind. And now, I'm the last thing they'll see before everything they built comes crashing down.